Hi guys, welcome to the Mountain of God. My name is Camille. Today is 2nd of May 2021. Welcome to video number 12. Today I want to talk about something which might sound crazy to some of you or might be surprising. But if you're in Christianity long again and if you understand like deeper truths about God and about how he plays this whole game, you might find this very helpful and very, bringing hope, I guess. So I want to talk today about foreshadowing. And if you don't know what foreshadowing is, I will read you the definition from Wikipedia, which basically, says it all. Wikipedia says something like this: foreshadowing is a literally device in which a writer gives an advance hint of what is to come later in a story. Foreshadowing often appears at the beginning of a story or a chapter, and it helps the reader develop expectations about the upcoming events. So, the whole idea is to tell you something at the beginning which will reappear at the end of the story. And you can see that in the literature, you can see that in movies and in everything basically, which is creatively done. And there's few reasons why we do this. And let me just tell you a simple example, and I'm going to use the movie titled Aliens, which is second movie in the Aliens I would say franchise. There's a story of Ripley, and at the beginning of the story, I hope it was long enough time for you to watch it, so I'm not going to spoil it. So we've got Ripley at the beginning. One of the few scenes at the beginning basically shows her being capable of using this hydraulic robot, which is allowing people to deal with heavy equipment. And there's like a simple scene, nothing really fancy there. But interestingly enough, at the end of the movie, exactly this thing which was shown to us at the beginning that she's capable of doing this is exactly the tool she uses to defeat the Queen. If she would do that with something completely different, like, I don't know, use something that we never saw before in the movie, it would be like, well, okay, makes sense. She defeated. That was the whole idea of the movie, right? You would expect the protagonist to win. But because something was shown at the beginning, because you can see that she was capable of doing this, when she used that exact ability, it makes sense. It feel good. It feel good. When she used that, you feel that it brought this whole thing to conclusion, and it feels as it's supposed to happen. And obviously, that's a tool that is used by filmmakers, let's say, in this particular example, because it makes us feel good. It makes us feel that it all came around. It's like the circle is complete. It makes sense. And you see, the same thing is used by God. For some apparent reason, which is not surprising really, we use the same tools as he does because they work. And in the situation of God, he doesn't need to make this whole suspense in the story, because it's not really, although I might be wrong, what do I know about life? But at least from what I saw and what you can see in the Bible, many of the things are set straight to your face. And God uses the foreshadowing in a form of prophecy, of dreams, of visions, of promises given to its people. And sometimes, yes, they are convoluted. Sometimes they not tell the whole story, because that's not the reason. But I want you to see why it makes sense. And I'll use a Bible-based example to show you what does it really mean and what is the reason that we got this. If you look at Old Testament, and to be exact, Genesis 3:15, there's something what theologians call pro-evangelium. Let's just switch to the site on the Wikipedia again. It basically, there's a verse when basically God tells interestingly enough, to the serpent himself. What is going to happen as a result? What happened in the Garden of Eden, when basically he tricked or pushed Adam and Eve to make a call, or basically make a decision, which they could do. Where basically God told them to, well, he didn't stop them, he gave them a choice. And they basically did what he told them not to do. So they ate the fruit from the tree of knowledge of good and evil, and as a consequence, everything else is a history, right? But in that moment when they did that, God told the devil, and he said something here exactly that. This is from King James Version. And I will put enmity between thee and the woman, and between thy seed and her seed. It shall bruise your head, and thou shalt bruise his heel. Which is interesting. I don't want to go make it a theology lesson, but basically, why it's called pro-evangelium? Because basically, this whole idea is that theologians see that as a first moment when God basically told what is going to happen in the future. That was like the first version of this good news that was fulfilled in Jesus. And even Wikipedia says it's God's statement to the serpent in the Garden of Eden about how the seed of the woman would crush the serpent's head. So interestingly enough, at the beginning of everything, right there when Adam and Eve make a huge mistake that kind of, derailed the whole history of whole humanity, he said, I will fix it. And I will not fix it myself. Your seed, the child of you, someone who gonna be human, gonna fix this. You're gonna crush the head of the devil. And interestingly enough, we can see that in the story of Jesus, and basically that he basically won this war in a spirit, took control, and took the basically the whole power of Satan, and defeated it. And God raised him from the dead. He took all the authority from devil. And now it has impact in, you can, if you are used, or if you understand the spiritual warfare, it's exactly what it uses. The authority that was given to the Satan in the Garden of Eden now was taken back by Jesus. That's why we can make this war and win it. So you can see at the beginning, just right on the start, God tells you what's going to happen. And it does. Exactly like he said. And that's why I want you to see the three major rules. Why God is doing that. As this form of foreshadowing what's going to happen. First of all, which is, I think it's directly connected to every prophecy that you can see fulfilled. It just gives you the feeling that God has this thing under control. That he basically owns and controls this narrative. It's fascinating to see. The more you're gonna go towards looking at the prophecy and how it's fulfilled, there's tons of prophecies about Jesus which would be impossible to fulfill because it's just too many of them. And all of them were fulfilled in Jesus and his death on the cross and his resurrection and salvation that he brought with him. It just shows that he owns this thing. It's like he never lost control. Never. Second thing that he basically says, because I have control, no matter what happens, I will help you. I'm telling you this like tons of years before. Like, at the beginning of everything, in this particular case, then I'm going to do what I tell you that I'm going to do, and I'm going to help you deal with it. So not only it shows that he controls it all, second, he gives you this comfort that he's going to help you. That's exactly what happened. And point number 3, he says, I want this thing to be an anchor. So you'll be able to hold on to this thing, and it will help you, it will lead you towards future. Because if you look close enough and think about it, why would God tell you something in advance? We said that he wants to help you. Cool. But why would he told you about that? And there's few reasons. Many times he will tell you about things before time because he knows that it's going to be a tough time. That's why help will be really needed. But he goes even further. And many times when you see the prophecies themselves, you can see that he's not saying only that something like this will happen, but many times he'll say, but because of this or that, something greater will happen. If you look close enough, as just just so you know, on the dark side, when you play with wizards and tarot cards or something like this, you have this completely upside down. You're gonna be rich, everything is gonna be great, but something bad will happen. God will do it completely the other way around, so there's always a positive outcome of whatever happens. But just as a side note. But I want you to kind of grasp that when he is telling you something in advance, many times, many years before it's going to happen, because he knows that it's going to be important. So he wants you to understand that he's going to control, that he's in control. Second, that it's going to help you. But even more going forward, he's telling you that that's going to be a positive outcome, even though it's going to be tough. And that's why it might be an anchor for us to hold this close to us, because you'll know that he told me, I get it, it's great, he's going to help me, but then he's even telling me what's going to be a positive outcome of it. It brings so much hope and so much even faith that he'll just do it for you. So you're not hoping only, you know that it's going to end up like this, because he never breaks his promises. It basically solves the whole problem for you, even though it might be tough to go through. You'll know that he'll be with you, and where this whole thing is leading to. And if you can see, exactly that happens in Jesus as well. Just to broaden this whole story, we were told at the beginning that God was gonna fix this whole thing using someone from us being human. Jesus fulfilled that story. He won the battle in a spirit, in a physical realm, by using us, by church was using his authority to win the battles. But if you look at the end of the story, the revelation, the end of age, he's going to come here, he's going to take control of everything physically. And it's not going to be like, this Jesus from a neighbor, from a major, he's going to come and he's going to ask everyone to stop doing this whole, to play this whole madness and stop being bad. No, it's going to be a hostile takeover. He's just going to come and rule with his, with the what was it called, the iron thingy. He'll basically take control of everything. He's not going to be asking anyone. He's going to be wipe everything, clean slate. There's not going to be a stone upon the stone. Everyone will says that he is the King of Kings and the Lord of Lords. That's what Revelation says. Wipe. It's going to be amazing. So that's why, for us who are in between his first coming and second coming, that's why the Revelation is a story of hope, not a story about end of the world. Even though it might be tough, and Jesus says all of that they will kill you, they will hurt you because of me. But at the end of the day, the result that was told even before, that's why we got the Revelation, this book has like 2,000 years, right? He's telling us exactly what's going to happen. That's why Bible says, your salvation draws near. So pull up your head. So you see, I want you to understand that God is using this foreshadowing extensively. I would even say that the basis of everything, of good news, of salvation, of Jesus Christ, everything, this is like straight in your face foreshadowing. Said, in your face. Detailing everything that's going to happen. Because there's three things. One, he wants you to know that he controls the narrative. Second, that he will help you. Three, he is even telling you what's going to happen, so you'll be able to hold it like an anchor. And you may ask, okay, I get it. Yeah, it's cool, it's awesome, but what is this thing having to do with me? And I want to kind of suggest to you, look and write down every prophecy that it was given to you, every dream that you had, every vision that you might have about you. If you have none, go ask your parents, ask your grandparents. I I tried to talk with even people from older generations, and they said, no, I didn't have this, I didn't have that. But there was always something that they said, I had this one situation when God told me in a dream. And it's like, this is so awesome, so cool. And many of these people, even though they say, I'm not a prophet, I never had any gifts and so on, many of them have this one story, this one dream, this one vision, this one thing that kind of touched them so much, this one situation that kind of foreshadowing something that's going to happen or happen already and change their lives. So that's why I want to push you to really write down everything that people told you, everything that God told you, because again, there's always a reason. There's always a very particular reason why He's telling you things that's going to happen a long time before they're going to happen. And He knows that you're going to need it, and He knows that it's going to help you to hear what is going to be the end, the positive result of all of this. So that's why, I'll hear probably tons of people saying, "No, I'm not a prophet. And we're trying to play the smart ass. No, if He told you something, keep it close, because if He decided you need to hear that, it means that you need to hear that. Don't try to outsmart God. So take His word seriously. Write down everything what was told to you. Write down and keep it as a trinket of hope and as an anchor for you to see what's going to happen, because it will happen. Listen, this is what I want you to take from this video. Because of our false humility, or because of, I don't know, different ways we look ourselves, or really kind of downsell ourselves, many times the things that were given to us in different shape or forms, we kind of put it aside. For some apparent reason, we think that we're smarter than God. For some apparent reason, we think that something that He told us doesn't really matter. It's a mistake. And tons of hurt might be avoided, and tons of stupid decision might be avoided if we would listen to what He's telling us, especially when He's telling us that so much time before it happens. He gave you even time for you to kind of swallow this pill, to kind of grasp and deal with whatever was said, because sometimes the things that are said, they're tough. But He's saying this to you for a reason. So write it all down. And listen, before I'm going to conclude, let me tell you a very simple thing from my personal life, because I forgot to say it before, but it might help some of you. In my family, my parents had this, I don't know, I think experience with God, that wherever they needed something really, really badly and they had no possibility to get it, they were praying and they would get it. And they told me stories, like crazy stories, that for some apparent reason, when they had no money, someone brought something to them and gave them, or they found an envelope with money, under the door. And for some apparent reason, it always worked. And I was always, as a child, listening to those stories and say, wow, that was amazing. That would be so cool to see that. And then years later, God told me, like, straight to my face, listen, I'm going to take care of you. And it's a long story. I'm not going to go into this because it's not just that. There's more to that. But basically, he told me that. And I kind of kept it to myself. And I can tell you two stories. Because there were not many situations when I really had nothing. There were a few. One, I have to figure it out what it was, because I know that it was one more, but I kind of forget about it. But one amazing story from years past. There was one day, one Saturday, me and my wife, we had nothing to put in, nothing to put on our table. Our refrigerator was completely empty, and we had zero money in our bank account and in our wallets. Literally zero. And remember that day, for some reason, we were invited to a wedding. We went there. Obviously, that was great because we had something to eat because the wedding. But interestingly enough, this one day that we kind of saw the end of the line, at the end of the wedding, there was so much food left that the family begged us to take it home, and they put everything that we could carry. And exactly the same day, when we had nothing, when we came home, we put everything into our small refrigerator. We couldn't close the door, and there was tons of amazing things that we would never buy for us because that was so expensive, like blue cheese and grapes and other crazy and delicious stuff. And I remember that day, I kind of said that many times, that if that how having nothing would look like, I want to have nothing every day. Because that was so amazing to see how he managed this thing to happen. And one additional thing from last year, basically, the COVID hit and I couldn't find a job. And I had two interviews for I don't know how many months of sending my CV and so on. And I remember after the second interview, I went to God praying and I said, Dad, if you're not going to help us, we'll have to, I don't know, pack and go back home. It's just, we are at the end of the line. And he said, do you really want it? And I said, yes. Again, long story, not going into the details. You know what happened? I got a job in IT, which normally, especially in big companies, can take from 3 months to 6 months. I get it in one day. In a little bit more than 24 hours, because I had this interview in Thursday morning, Friday evening I already had a signed letter with the whole proposal and so on. I got papers, I think like Monday or Tuesday, Wednesday I start working. One day. Everyone who works in IT says that it just doesn't happen. It did. Is that a coincidence? I don't know. But looking at what I've experienced in my life, it's not. Again and again, if God tells you something, He's going to deliver. That's why He's saying to you this in advance. So listen, think about it and do something about it. Because first of all, if He says something in advance, it's for a reason. And second, you can trust Him that He will deliver what He promised. So keep it close to your heart. If you like this video, like, share, and comment. If you didn't, comment as well. Tell me what you think and what is your experience. And if there's anything you want me to talk about, just give me a shout and I'll be glad to talk about it for you. And that being said, see you tomorrow.